The envelope arrived just before sunset. It wasn't slipped under the door or left carelessly at the front desk. No, it was hand-delivered. Signed for. Confirmed. Intentional. Amara Okoye noticed that immediately. She stood in the quiet of the penthouse living room, the skyline of Seoul stretching endlessly beyond the glass walls. The city shimmered in gold and blue, alive, indifferent, powerful. Just like the family she had married into. Her name was written across the envelope in flawless gold calligraphy. Mrs. Amara Choi. Her fingers paused over it. That name was already dead. Slowly, she broke the seal. Inside was a card, matte black, sharp-edged, elegant in a way that felt almost insulting. She read it once. Then again. You are cordially invited to celebrate the divorce of Ji-hoon Choi and Amara Okoye. Dress code, formal. Theme, freedom. The silence that followed was suffocating. Then, a soft laugh escaped her lips. Not loud. Not emotional. Just, controlled. They went all out, she murmured. From the hallway, footsteps approached. Calm. Unhurried. Ji-hoon. He entered like he owned the air she was breathing, perfect suit, perfectly styled hair, every inch the polished air of the Choi conglomerate. Did you get the invitation? He asked, as if asking about the weather. Amara didn't look at him at first. She was studying the card. The font. The spacing. The intention behind every word. I did, she replied. And? She turned. Their eyes met. For a brief second, something flickered in his expression, expectation, maybe even anticipation. He was waiting. For anger. For tears. For a reaction. Instead, she tilted her head slightly. It's creative, she said. Cruel, but creative. Ji-hoon exhaled, already losing patience. It's not that serious, Amara. Not serious, she repeated, calm but sharp. Your family is hosting a public celebration of our divorce. It's for closure, he said, adjusting his cufflinks. People need to see that we've moved on. People, she echoed. Or your investors. That hit. He didn't answer immediately. And that silence said everything. Amara nodded slowly, as if confirming something she had already known for a long time. This was never about us, was it? She asked. Ji-hoon's jaw tightened. Don't start. No, she said quietly. You already ended it. The room felt colder. He looked away first. I expect you to behave with dignity at the party, he added. No scenes. That almost made her smile. Of course, she said softly. I wouldn't want to ruin the show. He didn't notice the shift in her tone. But if he had, he might have realized something dangerous was happening. Because Amara wasn't hurt. Not anymore. She was done. And that was far more dangerous. The Choi estate was glowing. Lights draped across the massive garden like stars pulled down from the sky. Luxury cars lined the entrance. Security was tight. The guest list, elite. Politicians. Investors. Media figures. All invited. Not just to witness a divorce, but to celebrate it. Inside, the atmosphere was electric. Champagne flowed like water. Laughter echoed too loudly. Conversations carried just enough venom to be entertaining. They say she has nothing left. I heard she signed everything over. Of course she did. She was lucky to marry into that family in the first place. And now she's out. A soft chuckle. Where does she even go after this? No one noticed the gates opening. Not at first. Amara stepped out of the car alone. No entourage. No drama. Just presence. Her gown was black, elegant, perfectly tailored, hugging her frame with quiet confidence. Her hair was styled simply, her makeup flawless but restrained. She wasn't trying to impress anyone. And somehow, that made her impossible to ignore. The moment she entered, the room shifted. Whispers spread like wildfire. She came. She actually came. Is she serious right now? Amara walked forward, her heels clicking softly against the marble floor. Every step measured. Every movement controlled. Like she was walking into a place she owned. At the center of it all stood Madame Choi. Regal. Cold. Untouchable. "Ah," she said, her voice slicing through the room. "Look who decided to join us." All eyes turned. Amara met her gaze without hesitation. "I wouldn't miss it," she replied. A few guests exchanged glances. That wasn't the response they expected. Madame Choi smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. "How thoughtful of you." After all, tonight is about moving forward. Amara stepped closer. "Yes," she said. "It is." Ji-hoon stood beside his mother, already holding a glass of champagne like a prop. He still hadn't properly looked at Amara. That was intentional. Dismissal. Control. But Amara didn't react. Because she saw something he didn't realize. His hand was slightly tense. His grip just a little too tight. He wasn't as unaffected as he wanted to seem. Then. The final act. A young woman stepped forward. Dressed in white. Pure. Symbolic. Calculated. This, Madame Choi announced proudly, is Seminit, Ji-hoon's future. Soft applause filled the room. Seminit smiled, graceful but uncertain. Her eyes flickered toward Amara, curious, maybe even cautious. "Thank you for handling everything so gracefully," she said. Amara studied her. Not with anger. Not with jealousy. Just observation. "You're welcome," Amara replied calmly. "I always know when something isn't worth keeping." The room went still. A glass clinked somewhere in the distance. Ji-hoon's eyes snapped to hers. There it was again. That shift. That discomfort. Madame Choi quickly raised her glass, trying to regain control of the moment. "To new beginnings," she declared. Everyone followed. To new beginnings. Glasses lifted. Eyes turned to Amara. Waiting. Watching. Hoping. For her to break. Amara slowly picked up a glass of champagne. She raised it. Her lips curved into a faint smile. "Cheers," she said softly. Then. Just quietly enough to unsettle everyone close enough to hear. "Enjoy the night." A pause. A ripple. Something changed. Because there was no pain in her voice. No bitterness. No defeat. Just certainty. And that was the problem. Because while they were celebrating her end, Amara already knew the truth. This wasn't her humiliation. It was their illusion. And by the time they realized it, it would be far too late. The music swelled again, softer this time, like the room itself was unsure how loud it should be. Conversations resumed, but something had shifted. The laughter wasn't as free. The smiles weren't as steady. Amara moved through the crowd with quiet precision, acknowledging no one yet noticing everything. Eyes followed her, not with mockery anymore, but curiosity, and something dangerously close to unease. She stopped near one of the tall glass windows overlooking the garden. From here, she could see everything. The guests. The exits. The power structure. Exactly the way she used to observe board meetings, silent, underestimated, absorbing every detail. Still analyzing the room. The voice came from behind her. Low? Familiar. Amara didn't turn immediately. "Old habits," she replied. Kang Minute Jae stepped beside her, hands in his pockets, his expression unreadable. Dressed in a dark suit that blended effortlessly into the elegance of the night, he looked like he belonged here. Unlike her, or at least, unlike who they thought she was. You came alone, he noted. I'm not alone, Amara said quietly. That made him glance at her. A pause. Then a faint smirk touched his lips. Good, he said. Because tonight isn't going to stay peaceful. Amara finally turned to face him. Were you invited? She asked. Minik J's eyes flickered with amusement. Not exactly. Then why are you here? His answer was simple. You. That would have meant something else, once. But tonight, it meant strategy. Across the room, Ji-hoon noticed them. His expression darkened instantly. He excused himself mid-conversation and walked over, tension visible in every step. Who is this? He demanded, his tone sharp. Amara didn't rush to answer. This, she said calmly, is someone who understands value. Minik J extended his hand slightly, not intimidated in the slightest. Kang Minik J. Ji-hoon didn't take it. I didn't ask for your name, he snapped. Minik J's smile didn't fade. That's fine, he said. You'll hear it again soon. That sentence lingered. Uncomfortable. Heavy. Ji-hoon turned back to Amara. You're bringing strangers into this now? Is this your way of saving face? Amara looked at him, really looked at him, for the first time that night. And for a moment, there was something colder than anger in her eyes. No, she said softly. This is me taking it back. Ji-hoon scoffed. You lost everything, Amara. That was the line. The belief. The illusion they were all holding onto. Amara didn't argue. She didn't defend herself. Instead, she stepped past him and walked toward the center of the room. The music stopped. Not gradually. Not naturally. Abruptly. A soft murmur spread across the hall as the sound system cut out completely. All eyes turned. Confusion. Annoyance. Then, the massive LED screen behind the stage flickered to life. Madam Choi frowned. What is this? Fix it. But it was already too late. Numbers appeared on the screen. Stocks. Shares. Percentages. At first, no one understood. Then the realization hit. This is Choi Group stock. Why is it dropping? Wait, that's not a drop. It's a transfer. Silence fell like a blade. Large blocks of shares were being acquired. In real time. Company after company. Asset after asset. And one name began to repeat. Again. And again. And again. AO Holdings. Ji-hoon's face went pale. What is this? Amara stood calmly beneath the screen. This, she said, her voice carrying effortlessly through the stunned room, is a correction. Madam Choi stepped forward, her composure cracking for the first time. Turn that off. No one moved. Because they were all watching history unfold. You see, Amara continued, while you were busy planning a party. She looked around slowly, letting her words settle into every corner of the room. I was planning a takeover. Gasps. Whispers. Shock rippled through the crowd. That's impossible, Ji-hoon said. You don't have the capital. Amara's gaze shifted to him. Steady. Unshaken. You're right, she said. I didn't. A pause. Then. I built it. Minik J stepped forward slightly, just enough to be noticed now. Not hidden. Not silent anymore. And we helped, he added. That week landed heavily. Investors began checking their phones frantically. Board members stepped back, calculating, panicking. Because the truth was becoming clear. This wasn't a stunt. This wasn't revenge for show. This was power. Real power. Madam Choi's voice sharpened. Even if you bought shares, you don't control the board. Amara smiled faintly. Check again. One by one, notifications hit. Board members replaced. Votes secured. Control shifted. Right there. In the middle of a party meant to destroy her. Ji-hoon staggered slightly. No, this isn't happening. Amara walked closer to him. Not rushed. Not emotional. Just inevitable. You wanted a public ending, she said quietly. So I gave you one. He looked at her like he was seeing her for the first time. Not the woman he dismissed. Not the wife he underestimated. But something else entirely. Something he couldn't control anymore. Amara leaned in just enough for only him to hear. You didn't just lose me tonight. She stepped back. Her voice returning to its calm, controlled strength. You lost everything. And just like that. The celebration became a collapse.